The Global Burden of Armed Violence 2015 is the result of research of the Small Arms Survey in support of the Geneva Declaration on Armed Violence and Development. This is the third volume in the series. The previous editions were published in 2008 and in 2011. This year, the publication coincides with the ongoing negotiations on the post-2015 Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 16 aims at peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development and seeks a significant reduction of all forms of violence and related deaths everywhere. While some organizations count casualties in armed conflicts and in specific fragile or post-conflict contexts, and others monitor homicides and criminal violence, this study adopts a unique integrated approach to understanding the global impact of lethal violence across all settings. The report estimates that between 2007 and 2012 there were about 508,000 violent deaths annually, or a global average rate of 7.4 per 100,000 population. The good news is that globally this estimate represents a decline of about 3% since 2011. But there has been a spike upwards in conflict-related deaths, now averaging 70,000 per year and representing a larger proportion of the total. This is due mainly to wars in the Middle East. While the global number of violent deaths decreased, the economic impact of violence increased. The report estimates the global cost of homicide in 2010 at $171 billion in lost economic productivity and life expectancy. At the national level, the highest rates of lethal violence are concentrated in a small group of 18 countries in Latin America, Africa, and Asia that are home to only 280 million people, approximately 4% of the world's population, but where almost 1/4 of the violent deaths occur. Looking at a snapshot for the year 2012, Syria was at the top of the list with more than 180 deaths per 100,000, and as we know, this was before the dramatic upsurge in 2013-14. But the majority of the other most affected states are not at war, such as Honduras and Venezuela, with rates of violent death more than 10 times higher than the global average and comparable to war zones. National level data may hide the tremendous variation and concentration of violence within national boundaries. In Syria, for example, the majority of deaths between 2011 and 2014 has been concentrated in and around Damascus and Aleppo, with high levels of violence also recorded in the governorates towards Iraq. Data and analysis at the subnational level provides crucial information for policymakers and humanitarian actors to target high-risk communities for assistance. Firearms play a complex and varied role in lethal violence. Worldwide, just under half, around 44% of violent deaths involve the use of a firearm. The rate of firearms-related deaths is highest in countries in Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. In general, the higher the overall violent deaths rate, the higher the proportion of use of firearms. The number of women who die violently every year is decreasing. The global estimate of 60,000 female homicide victims per year is almost 10% lower than in 2011. This is good news, but the study highlights the high incidence of femicide, domestic violence, and killings perpetrated by current and former intimate partners. In 2012, the highest rates as well as the most dramatic increase were observed in Central America, while rates in South Africa and in the Russian Federation, although still very high, decreased. But a high proportion of female victims is also found in countries with generally low levels of violence. Furthermore, many countries, especially in Africa and Asia, still lack sex disaggregated data. The Global Burden of Armed Violence and its database provide a solid base for supporting the measuring and implementation of the proposed Goal 16 on peaceful and inclusive societies. An interactive online tool allows users to examine lethal violence data and trends at the national level.